So let's chat about the criteria. What's the deal with Year 12? Year 12, and hopefully this will alleviate some of that uncertainty that you're feeling at the minute, but Year 12 involves broken into three, I've forgotten the word that VCA use it, 3 units in a sense. We have Unit 3, Unit 4, and the exam, which comprise a fair portion of our grade. So we know with English that the exam is worth 50% of our grade. Unit 3, the value of Unit 3, 30% for our text response, 30% for our creative, 40% for our language analysis. We also have to do a comparative essay, a persuasive oral and written explanation, and then we have to revisit our text response, our comparative comparative essay, and our language analysis as well, which is actually changed to argument analysis. It's an argument analysis that we do. Okay, so these skills that we learn throughout the year, our text response, the analytical skills we learn here, help us with our language analysis or our argument analysis. Then we visit that ability to close read in our text and our comparing texts essay or our comparative essay. Then when we look at the persuasive oral and written explanation, we form all of these, or we bring these skills together, particularly those of argument analysis, to do a reverse argument analysis or a persuasive oral. And then we revisit them, our three primary essays in our exam. So I want you to see here that what you are learning all ties in. So this is a reminder of 2 things: to remain diligent and to stay consistent, because the skills that we learn, we apply all throughout the year. Okay, so that's the purpose of this lecture today, is to hopefully introduce you to some of these key skills. So here's another way to represent or think about this. And just a reminder that the creative response and the oral presentation, these are internal assessments, which mean that these are assessments that your school mandates, that your school writes, that your school marks itself, without clear parameters like the text response, comparing texts, and analyzing argument. Okay? We can see we're pretty jam-packed. In 10 months or so, we are completing all of this, which requires that we plan ahead and that we revise. Okay? We'll tackle the creative response today, and I think an intro to both of these tasks in Unit 3. I want to let you know that these slides are pretty chock-a-block, so don't fear if you're overwhelmed by how much we go through. Know that I've used these slides as a tool for you to return to, rather than for us to talk about every little thing today. So our 3 main essay types are text response, comparative, and our argument analysis essay. Our text response, which is based on one of the texts that we study, is exclusively about the text. So this is where we get a prompt and we are responding to the prompt about the text, and we are asking ourselves, or we are answering the question, to what extent do we agree? Is this prompt true about this text? Okay, and we'll go into this in depth. But we need to develop our own interpretation and contention. Contention is something we will continue to return to throughout the year. Contention being a central line of argument. So I contend that I am the greatest tutor in all of the lands. That is my central line of argument. Not that I really contend that, because I love my colleagues and, to all my tutors doing the work, I see you. But that is what a contention is, a central line of argument. Then we return to, then we use these skills and build on these skills where we analyze one text, and I did Frankenstein here, and we compare 2 texts. Now these 2 texts will be similar in some ways, different in some ways, but we know that they will complement each other, because VCA are rough sometimes, but they're not so rough to give us, I'm trying to think of two texts, The Dressmaker and The Simpsons. They wouldn't do that, for instance. So the texts complement each other, and our job is to draw out their complementary nature. Hopefully you're familiar with these essay types as I talk. Hopefully, coming from perhaps Year 11 English, you can see that, these are some skills that you've learned before. I remember doing a comparative in Year 10, right? These are familiar essays for me. So our goal is to analyze in what ways are they similar and different, but how do they represent the idea of the prompt? What do these texts have to say about the prompt? And what is similar and what is different about that interpretation or about their presentation of these ideas? Okay? And our final essay type, argument analysis, is where we get we get an article about a contentious issue, so an issue that someone has an opinion about, like a newspaper article, and we are asking ourselves, what is the author arguing? Or how is the author persuading the reader? Okay, we're all about trying to unpack how this author makes this argument about this topic to persuade this particular audience to do, think, feel, say something. Okay, whatever they want, whatever the audience, the author wants from the audience. Okay, so argument analysis is all about connection between author, argument, audience, topic, and persuasive writing or textual features. Okay. And then we have our two internal assessments. We have our creative response based on one of the texts you study. My text was Rear Window. And then what we need to do is justify our opinion, justify our interpretation, justify our creative response through a statement of intention. Okay. We also need to analyze arguments through a persuasive oral, which is where we develop our own argument about a topic that maybe your school has given you or maybe you've come up with by yourself. But in this persuasive oral, you are essentially writing that article that you would otherwise analyze. And you actually do need to analyze it. You have to analyze your own response in a written explanation or a statement of intention as well, which is all about justification. Okay, I hope you're still with me. We'll break it down. This is just a summary of what you can expect this year. So, let's break down some key criteria for each of them, just as an intro. And we will get into things in more depth in just a moment. So, thinking about our text responses, we are marked on our knowledge and understanding of the text. How well can we understand what is happening in the text? This is really just, have you read it? Do you know what's going on? Do you understand what's going on? Do you understand that when the author talks about the blue sky, they're not just talking about the sky, but they're talking about a sense of optimism in a time of uncertainty? I don't know. Then we're also marked on our exploration of the text's ideas and issues that is backed up by our knowledge and understanding of the text. So, do we understand what's happening? Yes. Do we also understand their ideas and issues? This criteria here, or this key barometer of success, I guess, across the text response and also the comparative and also the language analysis is one that I really want you to pay attention to this year. The idea of ideas and issues and views and values. So views and values, or ideas and issues, what is the author saying about the world around them? What do they have to say about the world around them? That's what I need you to draw out, okay? What is the author saying about the world around them? Do we understand the concerns, dilemmas, what generally they're saying? in the text, but I really need you to engage with their views about the world and what they are valuing. So what are they saying about the world around them? And what do they want the audience to think, feel, say, or do? What are they endorsing? What are they critiquing? Pretty much to think about views and values, or to try and identify them, I like to break it down by asking myself, okay, if this author was to write a dummy's guide to being a good human or being a bad human, what would the author have to say? Would they say that it is courage, and courage that you use to stick up for the people around you that gets you through? Would they say that fear needs to be addressed or else it rules you? Would they say that it is love that unites communities at the end of the day? What are their views about the world, and what do they value? What are they saying is good or bad about the human condition or the very fact of being human? What do they want you to think, feel, say, do? What are they endorsing? What are they critiquing about the world around them and about the people that are in that world? Okay? This is the most important criteria. This is the most important thing that you can emphasize and discuss in your essays. Ultimately, this is what the authors are looking for. The examiners are looking for. They are looking for your understanding of the views and values of the text. So, I really need you to emphasize it. I really need you to work on this skill of asking yourself, what is the author saying about the world around them? What are they endorsing? What are they critiquing? What are they suggesting? What do they want an audience to think, feel, say, do, believe? Okay? We'll get to this in depth, so don't freak out. I spent a lot of time there because it is so important. We also need to develop a coherent analysis, which is just to say that we are actually responding to the prompt at hand, that we are developing an analysis, which goes without saying, okay? And our control and effectiveness of language. Your language will improve throughout the year. I have no concerns right now if you are the greatest writer or the worst writer in the world, which would be unlucky for you, but you always can improve. This is a pursuit. This is something we really work on and develop, your language use, okay? So we can see that the criteria overlaps for comparing texts. We need to know and understand both texts. We need to explore, know, understand, and compare both views and values, or both authors' views and values. We need to be able to make complex comparisons across the two texts. And again, we need to use controlled and effective language. We need to be essentially comparing in our language as well. Strong vocab and meta-language. Now, one key difference between the essays that we write in text response and comparative. In our text response essay, when we answer the prompt, we are asking the question, or we are answering the question, to what extent do I agree? Or to what extent is this true? Do you agree or disagree? Whereas with our comparing text essay, we're not writing our essay in order to prove that we agree or disagree with something. The point of the comparing text essay is to respond to the prompt by answering, in what ways is this idea shown? Okay? In what ways is this idea shown? That's what we're trying to express here. So, analyzing argument, we need to use our analytical skills or our ability to read a text and break it down to identify the argument, to identify the point of view, and to identify the arguments in plural. So in analyzing argument, we have a few things going on. We have firstly, that the main idea or the main argument. So what is the author saying? What do they want? Say they want drones to be banned. That would be their primary argument. They want drones to be banned because X, Y, Z. What we need to do is not only work out what it is that they want or what their main argument is, drones should be banned, but we need to work out what the X, Y, Z is. So what are their arguments about why drones should be banned? So not only do we have a broad contention, we have sub-arguments that we need to be able to identify. We need to ban drones because of this reason. They pose a risk for this reason. And the community needs to step up and protect against drones for this reason. Our analytical skills again come to the test or the foray when we analyze language and visual features, something new for us. Okay, we need to look and think about the specific or particular ways the author is making these arguments through an analysis of language and visual features, and always coming back to essentially the views and values once again, or the author's ultimate contention. Okay, I like to use that word ultimate to describe how we need to address our essays, or the link we need to always be making. Not only are we looking really small and minutely at the image and at the sentences and at the punctuation, but we're looking a little bit bigger in terms of broad argument. And we're looking even bigger than that in terms of purpose. What does the author ultimately want to happen here? And again, our language with controlled and effective language use.